so strong tonight.
Hey, how are you today?
Hi Alvin, today I'm feeling very relaxed.
As you know, today I'm going to interview you about yourself in electric racing 2. Are you ready?
This is the first time I'm doing something like this, but I'm curious about how it will go. Go ahead.
Who did you discover the game Electric Racing 2 and when did you start playing?
Well, this was a long time ago. When I was little, while walking around shops, my mother would sometimes allow me to go play on the devices inside the Apple store. And of many of them, there was climb racing. I didn't consider it right away at first, since I usually jumped into playing Asphalt 8. But after a while, I started trying other games, including Hill. Honestly, at the beginning it didn't catch my attention, because I found it complicated and repetitive. Then, in 2026, when I was 10 years old and had my first phone, since I had very little storage, I decided to install Hill as my first game. While searching for it on the Play Store, Hill Climb Racing 2 also came up. And out of curiosity, I decided to download that instead of the first one.
What makes you want to keep playing the game right now?
What mainly motivates me is the fact that I find it really fun to create content about this game on my YouTube channel. And the second reason is that I'm determined to obtain all the masteries in the game, and after that, finally manage to fully max out my garage.
Why do you call yourself bØss expert TM in the game? Does it have a specific meaning?
This time I'll be truly honest, even if it's quite embarrassing. Since when I was little at school, I almost always won matches on Clash Royale against all my classmates. I felt like an ultimate opponent, like a game boss. And because I keep putting an insane amount of focus into games like Glitter.io, Asphalt 8 and Geometry Dash, and ended up playing them in an extremely competitive way. When I finished Hill's tutorial, at the moment when I had to choose the name, it instinctively came to me to call myself a lowercase bØss expert. Yeah, the peak of my originality at 10 years old. TM came a few years later, since I wanted to be recognized as the original one.
Which in-game UP did you like the most?
The ones I like the most are probably three. The adventure work, which finally gave meaning to that mode and pushed me to start playing it. The map maker update, which in my opinion is the best update in the entire game, since you can practically do anything with it. For example, recreating team events maps to practice or to express your creativity at its best. And finally, even so many will hate me for this, the mastery update, because in my opinion the game really needed a restructuring. The only thing I didn't really like is the way this update was introduced, since I think it would have been more appropriate to use two separate leaderboards for those who use masteries and those who didn't. Other aspects that in my view would require work are the way you can obtain masteries in order to make the process at least somewhat fun and lowering the price to get them.
So logically, which UP did you hate the most?
Generally speaking, most of the updates that Fingersoft has introduced, even if not the best, haven't really bothered me that much, since I can't adapt to them easily. However, among them, there is one of that I truly despise. The recent Team Event 2.0 update with the addition of this team spirit and the research lab. Since I already don't particularly enjoy the team mode due to how easily teams can become toxic environments, what bothers me even more is not only the fact that the entire team event now is almost entirely based on pay to win, but also knowing that in some teams, because of this update, People can be constantly pressured to buy Team Spirit chests in order not to be kicked out, which disgusts me. But I want to make it clear that I'm talking about probability, not certainty.
Do you remember your first world record? If so, what is it and what vehicle?
Surprisingly, yes. My first world record was the sports car on landing drive, with the kangaroo setup.
What does it feel like to the best player in your country, in this case Italy, and even one of the best in the world? What goes through your mind?
Being the best player in Italy at the moment has, over time, made me feel more confident in my abilities. And even though I personally don't consider myself one of the best players in the world, knowing that I'm getting closer to them is making me realize that I might actually have some potential.
Are your family and or friends aware of what you do? If so, are they proud of you?
Yes, my family knows about what I do, and my mother, since I've managed to win something in tournaments and can earn a bit through a channel related to heal, says she's very proud of what I'm building, while my other two sisters are not interested in it.
How old are you?
Currently, I have 19 years old.
What are you studying?
I studied computer science in high school.
What job do you want to do later?
I'm not sure about that yet, but if there was a small possibility of doing YouTube as a job, in the future I would be really happy about it, since I love to always discover new ways to edit.
What is your proudest achievement since you started playing the game?
My best achievement was definitely making my favorite vehicle, the Beast, famous with the use of air control and spoiler together, creating a new way of racing.
What do you use to play the game? Phone, computer, tablet?
I use a phone.
What model is it?
It's an iPhone 11, received as a gift.
What are your future plans in the game? Tournaments, teams, YouTube videos?
As for my future plans, as I mentioned before, in this game I'm aiming to fully max out my account, so that in the end I can have a complete experience and discuss various aspects of the game in my videos. At the same time, I want to commit to creating videos that allows many players to take part in them, with the hope of also inspiring others to create similar content in the future.
Tell me 3 players you really like for their personality, fair play and playing style. Who are they and why?
If I had to choose only 3 players based on these aspects, I would say Blackbeard, whom unfortunately I haven't spoken to in a quite some time, but I still consider him like a brother. We used to compare notes a lot on strategies to be specific world records before masteries were released, and he is the one who passed on to me the passion for creating strategies and pushing them to the limit. Valkyrin, whom I've talked to a lot recently, I really love his engaging personality, and I fully share many of these viewpoints about this game. I also really like the vehicles he chooses to play and the strategies he creates. And finally, Mono Victor. His playstyle has been and continues to be my only real inspiration. I greatly admire his confidence in what he says and does, his kindness, and the fact that he has always treated me as an equal. For me, it's as if we're almost grew up together.
What was your reaction when you finished 10th while driver 05 in their circuit race 2?
Of course, both Shriver and I were extremely happy to have managed to reach such a high level, but honestly, I wasn't very surprised, because having already taken part in several tournaments in the past, I knew what my limits were. And because both Driver and I were able at the same time to complete each other very well by covering each other's weaknesses.
What role does the community play in your gaming experience?
If you're talking about the SR2 community in general, I usually engage with it to compare different points of view on the strategies I use.
Do you have any ideas that are close to your heart and that you would like to implement for the community that follow you on YouTube?
The projects I care about the most at the moment are the series in which I'll give an overall evaluation of each mastery, to share my points of view and highlight which masteries would need it either a nerf or a buff, and the subscriber given challenge series in order to create interaction.
Do you think Ilkrim Racing 2 helps you improve several tricks at home? If so, which one?
I never would have thought I hear a question like this, but since it's one of the reasons why I managed to earn some money with YouTube, I'd say I'm able to help my family with some small expenses.
Also, Vortex player, what do you think of Trump's approach to being the best player in the world, spending thousands of dollars on his team? What do you think of this strategy?
Even if many people will not agree with what I say, in my opinion, more than buying the players, I would say that they gave many players the opportunity not only to win something, but also to be able to demonstrate their value. So, for me anyway, it did a good thing.
How much time do you spend playing the game per day, per week?
I avail myself of the right not to answer this question.
What is your favorite vehicle and why?
My favorite vehicle continues to be the Beast. I enjoyed playing it even before the Masteries, and now that it have received Masteries, it is even more fun thanks to its uniqueness, because it can literally do anything even with just one wheel. From normal boost to being able to use jump shocks, and even using the spoiler.
What vehicle do you think the most underrated in the game?
I think it's the Bolt, because even though a large portion of people think the same, I still believe that overall everyone is not truly aware of how frightening the Bolt can become with these new upcoming masteries. Considering that even without masteries, it already achieves impressive times.
What vehicle do you think the most difficult to control?
Currently, I think it's a motocross, because I know that it's easy to get a large boost from it with the masteries, but I'm talking about the moment when you push its records to their limits. The motocross has several aspects to manage, including the start, the fact that the strength of air control depends on how you activate jump shock, and the rhythm at which you trigger jump shocks in the air, and standard jumps. And before all of this, you also need to be able to put together a proper tune.
What is the best mastery?
I think it's the boost one, because its masteries allow you to adapt to every game mode, whatever, for example, time attack or adventure, giving you the feeling that this has transformed this vehicle into 3 different vehicles.
What is your favorite map?
My favorite map is down the tube, and it's usually the map I try first when, for example, a new vehicle or mastery comes out, because it's really satisfying to manage to hit that hole.
What do you think is the most important skill for progressing in aircraft racing 2?
I would definitely say the ability to jump with any vehicle using the kangaroo setup. This is an activity that, in my opinion, all players should learn to do, because mastering it brings many benefits. For starters, almost everything now basically requires this skill, and practicing it over time helps you learn other important things, like understanding vehicle physics or even realizing that the way you activate jump shock matters.
What are the biggest traps that intermediate players fall into?
A trap that, in my opinion, common players might fall into is getting used to using a single vehicle throughout the entire gameplay journey while ignoring the others. This happens for 2 main reasons. The first is that if someone does something like this, they will most likely not progress with upgrades on the other vehicles. Secondly, after playing the same vehicle for a long time, you get bored and reach a point where you have completed everything you wanted to do with it. At the moment, when you want to try playing with another vehicle, it feels like having to relearn how to drive from scratch, which in the worst cases could lead you to consider quitting the game.
How do you work on your record? Video analysis, repetition, and intuition?
When working on each record, I generally rely more on experience and intuition. This is because over time I have continuously played many maps multiple times with different vehicles and strategies, to the point where, when I need to find or create a strategy, I think about the type of setup and route I have used before and start imagining in my head how it might go, then replicating game shortly after. However, these are not the only aspects I take into consideration. Each vehicle is unique, and tuning parts and different effects and levels of power on each of them. For this reason, I always try to understand whether I can do without using some tuning parts or create a mixed setup, such as combining Kangaroo and Wheelie, imagining a more complex but less likely scenario. The vast majority of the time, when I am trying new, unconventional strategies, I do not listen to the judgments of other players, even professional ones. This is because I strongly prefer to test my strategies until I fully achieve them. Whenever I have a good idea in mind, I am extremely confident that this is possible and that it is only a matter of time before I imagine pull it off.
Do you have a rival or player who particularly inspire you?
There is a single player whom I consider both a rival and an inspiration, and there is Mono Victor. He is one of the main reasons why I continue to play this game. Without him, I would probably have stopped playing a long time ago. But why do I say both rival and inspiration? Because over time I have always wanted to be able to replicate Victor's playstyle. For this reason, I practice many different strategies to get closer to his level. This is one of the reasons why you often see me and Victor using the same strategies. And over time, by playing in his style, a steadily growing desire began to develop in me to push every record to its limits, increasingly wanting to give him a real challenge.
Do you feel pressure when you play against other top player?
Definitely not, because I'm aware of the fact that I'm capable of both replicating almost any type of strategy and beating any time. The only things I need are time and a lot of attempts.
Which device do you recommend for optimal gameplay?
To have a proper gameplay, I definitely recommend using an iPad, because the screen size allows for a wider view of each map. This is essential in many modes where the vehicle goes off screen, such as moon jump, speedruns, or simply to have a better view in adventure maps. The only problem, of course, remains the price required to afford one.
Do you think equipment has a significant influence on performance?
Absolutely yes. Having proper equipment is the most important thing when you want to play professionally. Otherwise, no matter how good you are or how much effort you put in, if, for example, the device starts lagging or the connection becomes weak, it would make it impossible to have professional level gameplay. I speak from experience. Since 6 years ago, I started getting frustrated by how limited my actions were by the phone I was using at the time.
How do you see the future of electronic racing too?
I wouldn't be able to say for sure, because on the side there is the hope that if the developers decide, after releasing all the masteries, to apply a major overall balance, such as buffs or nerfs to the mastery system, cost adjustments, and the rework of the global leaderboards, in short, making this category more accessible and fun for everyone, the game could become popular again like it once was. On the other side, if everything stays as it is, or if they continue to release rushed and superficial updates, it will end up with only a few people remaining in the game, and its reputation will suffer as a result.
Do you have any particular expectation regarding news map or vehicle?
If you're talking about vehicles like the off-roader, glider, and ATV that were released recently, I have to say that I have very high expectation for each of them, since they will be extremely fun to play and will destroy many world records. As for the new maps, however, I recently been extremely disappointed, as they give me the impression of having almost no logical sense.
What would you change in the game if you could speak directly to the developers?
In my opinion, the time attack section as a game mode is the most neglected of all, considering that SR2 is well known for being, unlike the other finishers of games, truly competitive. If I had the chance to speak with the developers, I would tell them to focus entirely on making the game much more competitive. For example, they could add other types of modes, such as in-game tournaments, and perhaps introduce a campaign mode for new players, made up for map styles levels where players would need to try to beat opponents across different modes, including time attack, in order to earn stars and rewards, eventually reaching the end to win cosmetic items. All of these would be designed to give players even more freedom and fun, and to get closer to unlocking the true potential that ACR2 could achieve. Because in its current state, there realistically wouldn't be much to do in this game.
What do you think of Airgrim Racing 2 community?
In general, there are two real parts of the ACR2 community, the time attack community and the adventure community. I wouldn't recommend engaging with the time attack community, as I consider it quite toxic, whereas I would absolutely recommend the adventure community, since it's much easier to find discussions and help from other players there.
Who are the content creator or gamer you recommended following?
At the moment, the content creators I feel comfortable sharing with you are True the Pipes, whom I recently started watching a lot because it brings truly interesting content and is also really good at entertaining. Ragdoll, whose videos are great to watch while I'm resting or eating, and whose voice is extremely pleasant to listen to. Mr. ACR2, that in-game is Kartik, who not only uploads videos consistently but does so with an almost hypnotic performance, as his videos clearly showcase just how terrifying his skills are. Titanium Gaming, that is definitely my brother, for the extreme originality and quality of his videos, making his content unique within the entire community. And finally, Verishock, who generally brings gameplay covering all his airship updates and occasional crazy records. No matter how much time passes, we are always satisfied watching every one of his videos.
What advice would you give to new players who want to become pro?
This time, I feel like giving not just one, but two pieces of advice. The first one is that you shouldn't let yourself be influenced by other people's judgment. Play your own way and have fun, because at the end of the day, this is still just a game. The second is simply to accept that making mistakes is necessary in order to learn, as this will, over time, force you to think about the way you drive and help you develop the right approach.
If you could create a completely crazy map, what would it be?
A map I would like to create would be a mix between the beginning of Rust Valley and the ending of the ruins, in order to achieve a truly hypnotic effect. And also because I love maps where you can take advantage of spoilers.
What is your favorite skin?
My favorite skin is the legendary purple Formula 1. I'm absolutely in love with its futuristic look.
What was your biggest rage moment in Clim Racing 2?
When I was about to start a tournament organized by Trap, I only had 700 gems, and the day before it started, I accidentally bought a floor background, ending up with only 200 gems. I was seriously angry with myself at that point.
If you could go back to any era of the game, which would it be? Why?
Very likely in 2022, when daily and weekly races were still popular, the community was much more active, and most of the best ACR players who later quit were starting to shine.
Do you have a technique for getting the second turbo in time attack race?
I wouldn't really call it just technique, because to consistently achieve high speeds in time attack, it is extremely important to know all the characteristics of each vehicle, including the tricks they are capable of, in order to enhance their strength and minimize their weaknesses. A perfect example is the CCV, which takes advantage of the perfectly timed charged start trick, or the fact that its entire body, if used correctly, allows you to gain a boost that makes a huge difference.
How do you manage to maintain your concentration for a long period of times?
To reach this level of concentration, I simply keep thinking about the current goal. So even if I start to get tired, I keep playing anyway. I always use this mental state whenever I need to obtain masteries, and it works very well.
Do you play with the plan in mind, or do you improvise a lot?
Thanks to years of gameplay experience, I always have a plan in mind for everything I do. However, when I see that a specific vehicle or a specific map starts to become problematic, that's when I really begin to think far outside the box.
How would you describe the difference between a good player and a player of your level?
A good player is satisfied with achieving the same result, and once they reach a level they consider good enough, they stop improving and limit themselves to seeing other players as their ceiling. A player at my level, instead, is never truly satisfied with the result they achieve. These players see their limits as a potential they know they can reach, constantly trying to be the best version of themselves and driving themselves into a continuous pursuit of perfection.
Is it important for you to spread your knowledge with the community?
Yes, because in any case, one of my main goals is to hope that by sharing what I know, many players can try to replicate what I say, such as certain tricks, in order to make the community more competitive.
What do you think is still missing from the current competitive scene?
As I said before, in my opinion, ACR2 lacks other modes specifically designed for competitive play, specifically for time attack. This is because the real competitive concept for this mode currently remains the daily and weekly races. However, if there were a mode that rewarded players with prizes such as skins or resources, features that trophy-based ranking system, and allowed competition through random 1v1 time attack challenges against players with the same number of trophies, I think this game could unlock its full potential.
What's your preferred mode? So either adventure, cups, team events?
My favorite mode has always been time attack.
If you could add one completely crazy vehicle, which would it be?
Well, dear Alvin, let me introduce you to the mutant. A car whose ability is to transform into a second vehicle, such as the rally car, for about 20 seconds before returning to normal. During the transformation, it retains all its tuning parts, while removing those that don't exist for the specific vehicle it transforms into. I would love to have a vehicle like this in the game.
Thank you so much for taking the time to answer this interview. I hope the community learned something new about you and your thoughts. Thanks again and have a great day.